bienvenue, hello and welcome. I have the video for this week, and this week we have a très controversial novel. It is in fact probably the most controversial novel that any of us will do ever. What is that novel? That novel is Nikos Kazantzakis' The Last Temptation of Christ. Mais before we get to that, if you would like to support us, there is our shop, there is our Redbubble shop, there is our website shop. We have books, we have writing services, we have lots and lots of designs, pretty things. Both of those are wonderful ways that you can support us. The other ways that you can support us is you can like, you can subscribe, you can share, you can comment, and as usual, please keep your comments polite, as this video especially. So those are the ways that you can support us, and I hope you enjoy. So what this book I have had this book sitting on my bookshelf for 2 years, and because I wish to bring it to the channel, mais I have been scared too. It is now 5 o'clock in the evening, because I have been procrastinating doing this and trying to work out exactly what I want to talk about, mais because I was 8 when the Martin Scorsese film came out, and I remember the huge controversy over that. So I was a little bit, I've been a little bit nervous. But I finished this book yesterday. I read most of this in a gigantic read. I spent about 12 hours reading with breaks, but about 12 hours reading this book yesterday, and oh my goodness, I so want to talk about it, but I have been a bit scared. So just to start, I am talking about a book, a novel, a piece of fiction. I am not talking theology. I have no interest in talking theology. I am talking about a book. Now, I understand that some people are likely to find this book deeply offensive, in which case, please do what I ask and just don't watch the video. I'm talking about a book. So if you do not like the book, that's fine. We have tons of other videos. I just want to talk about the book. So this book is very controversial. I think the only thing that I could do that would be more controversial than this would be perhaps the Marquis de Sade. And I do not wish to do the Marquis de Sade. No. I do not wish to do the Marquis de Sade. So where do we start with this? Well, I actually want to tell you, I'm going to start in a very odd place. Over Christmas, I watched the series Good Omens, one with the Terry Pratchett, Neil Gaiman thing, and because I like David Tennant and Michael Sheen. I watched both series, and I found myself wondering, who is this for? It's not for children, because there's too much adulty sort of themes. But it's too childish for adults. So who is this for? Part of the reason I ask this of myself is because he fundamentally misunderstood the concept of good and bad. In that, good is obedient, and bad was disobedient or really just naughty. And I found myself thinking, well, actually, good is complex. Good is très, très difficile. It is not just following instructions. It is because we all know that I was just following orders is not an offense. So therefore, following instructions is not guaranteed to be inherently good. So in that case, how can you possibly sustain a novel, a 500-page novel, with a character who is a central character, Jesus Christ, a good man, beyond good man, God on earth man? How on earth is that? How on earth do you create a story that is interesting and has conflict and has all these things that you expect of a story out of a central protagonist who is perfect? And yes, that is what Kazantzakis manages to do. Now, before we get to this book exactly, who is Kazantzakis? Kazantzakis was a Greek author. He wrote many books. His most famous book, other than this one, is Zoba the Greek, much more accessible. He was a philosopher, a journalist, a novelist. He was nominated for the Nobel Prize 9 times and never won, which seems unfortunate. He was a socialist, and he wrote a great deal on God and faith. So he is born in 1883, which is only about 50 years from Greek independence from Ottoman rule, and he died in 1957. When he wrote this book, when this book was published, this was one of his last published works, his second last published work, I believe. He was threatened with excommunication from the Greek Orthodox Church, and this book was put onto the Vatican list of banned books for heresy. Now, I would actually like to talk about that list for a little bit. Now, one of the things is Vatican II got rid of the banned books list. We have actually done some of the banned books on this channel. One of the interesting things is the banned book list is not nearly as long as you would think. As somebody from an English-speaking country, it really had very little impact on English speakers. It was something that seemed to be a very very out of its place thing to have. And the choice of authors to go on the banned book list was very interesting. Now, I have a list of some of the authors that we have done, and then some who I looked at as list and found it very interesting. Now, the things that got you stuck on the list: anti-clericism, blasphemy, and heresy. This one is heresy. It's not actually blasphemy, as much of the controversy says. It's not actually blasphemous, it's heretical. So, what we have done Candide by Voltaire. Of course, that got on the list. We have done A Sentimental Journey by Lawrence Stern, which is one of the best videos on the channel. It is massively performing. I think that is for anti-clerical. I think also that Candide is heresy, blasphemy, or anti-clerical. I do not know exactly. Pamela is on the list. I do not know how Pamela is on the list. Again, her ladyship says she's not reading that one because it's too boring, and we've read Shyamala instead, which is not on the list. Other books on the list, and obviously this one. This is one of the second last things to be put on the list, interestingly. Other things on the list that are quite interesting are all the works of Sartre. The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir. All the works of Émile Zola. Madame Bovary by Flambeau. Casanova's Memoirs, well, obviously Casanova's Memoirs. Critique of Pure Reason by Immanuel Kant. The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by Edward Gibbon. This is very strange. Letters per Journal by Montesquieu, which her ladyship does have. It is on the bookshelf. She is planning on doing that at some point. Paradise Lost by Milton. Montaigne's Essays. And Sade, who is like, of course, Sade, you would imagine. No, Sade had two books, Juliette and Justine, on it, which was then taken off. So this is an incredibly strange list. It is not a list that resembles modern day banning books. But of course, what happens when you put a book on a banned list? Everybody wishes to read it, don't they? It's one of the best things you can do for sale is put it on a banned list and say, oh no, people shouldn't read this. Oh, I want to read that. Amen. How many people went to see the Scorsese film that would not have gone to see that if it was not picketed? It would have been, oh, it's a Jesus film. They're all pretty boring. And so they would have missed out on what is a truly, truly beautiful film. It's also interesting that it is that one is the one that people go, oh no, this is terrible, as opposed to the anti-Semitic torture porn, which is the Passion of the Christ. Oh no, apparently that is fine. It's torture porn and anti-Semitic. Anyway, back to our book. So, what does Kazantzakis do? Kazantzakis tells the story of Jesus Christ. Or actually, as he calls him, Jesus, the carpenter from Nazareth, or Jesus, son of Mary. There is a difference. Jesus Christ is the post-resurrection. This is a man. This is a man who is struggling with the fact that he is both man and God, and he is being driven to this fate, something that he is resisting. Why? Because he is also a man, and as a man, he would like to live a man's life, and a man's life with a wife and children. But God will not let him go. And I think it is about the first nearly 200 pages. It takes nearly 200 pages before we get to events that are in the Gospel. What we meet in the first 200 pages is the people of Nazareth and Galilee, people who will become important in the Gospels. It's like, oh, there is Peter, there is Andrew, there is John. Here are these people who will become apostles of Jesus. Here is Judas. The central relationship, aside from Jesus' relationship with God, is Jesus and Judas, which is a relationship which brings inherent conflict. Parce que, why? Jesus is a man with what he believes is a holy mission to change the world. To change the world with what? With love? To challenge the world, to bring a whole new order. And then you have Judas, who is a zealot. He is a revolutionary. He is against Rome. He is a man of action. He is actually sent initially to kill Jesus, the carpenter, crossmaker for the Romans. He sees him as a collaborator with the colonial force that is in place in Judea. Kazantzakis is living 50 years after, born 50 years after the independence, after Greece has thrown the colonial force of the Ottoman Turks out of their country. 400 years of Ottoman oppression, and Kazantzakis is living in a modern, free Greece. So he is a man who understands what it is to want that level of freedom. This is a huge theme. Judas and Jesus both wish freedom, may they have conflict over how that freedom is to be achieved. Is it through direct violent opposition to the Roman authorities, or is it through Jesus's preaching and changing the souls of men and women? This is a major conflict in this. At the beginning, there is an extended crucifixion of a zealot, so that we understand both what this is, how this works, how this is a form of colonial oppression, how this is a torture, how this is something that is used to demoralize the people of Judea. And it also means that when we get to the crucifixion of Christ, we do not have to go through this incredible detail sort of part of it. In fact, the actual crucifixion, the taking from the Garden of Gethsemane to the crucifixion is actually quite condensed. Kazantzakis moves things around. I think one of the things that he uses as his main source is the Gospel of Matthew. In fact, he has Matthew writing his Gospel as Jesus is preaching. He has the Gospel being written and being interpreted by Matthew and creating a different thing from the documents that you see here. So it is that here is the Gospel that has been created, and Jesus actually challenges Matthew's interpretation of the events which are being inspired. Matthew is sitting and writing, and he has an angel who tells him what to say, that are being inspired to create a narrative of faith against the haphazard quality of the uncertainty of the Jesus in the missionary mission in the book, in the novel. So you have these building blocks of, you need a different image than the doubting person for a document of faith. It is quite interesting. He has this split, this idea that this is a construct. I am not saying anything terribly revolutionary to say that the Gospels are literally constructs at this point. In 1950, 52, 54, that would have definitely have been a very controversial thing to say, but now not so much. So he has this nature of narrative and the nature of mythologizing and why you need to do that. Jesus looks at it and is angry at Matthew for the way that he has constructed this, but he does still give it back. He give it back. He let Matthew do what he is doing. He realized he has no control over how others see him, and you see how much the lack of control of how others see him is seen in the apostles, and the followers, and how much the preaching of Jesus in here is very his new order is very socialist. It is everybody share. But the peasants are seeing it as an inversion of the current, that we get to be at the top and they get to be at the bottom. Which is not what Jesus is saying. He is not inspiring violent revolt. He is trying to inspire altruism and empathy and an ability to see value in seeing in the support of everybody, rather than just what's mine is mine and you get yours. So that is a huge challenge. That is not actually all that controversial. That version of Jesus is very easily read in the gospel, and it appears to have not been the versions that certain sects do not necessarily like that. Certainly it is not the Jesus of the prosperity gospels. So there is that. Also the apostles have a concept of, we are giving these things up but we are going to be kings. They are not fully understanding the message that Jesus is trying to give, and Jesus is getting frustrated with him. He is a very human person. He gets frustrated, he gets angry, he is confused, he has doubt, he is not always sure, is this how this should be? Am I doing what I need to do? We come back now to the relationship with Judas and Jesus, which I think is really one of the most interesting ones in the book. The relationship between with Mary Magdalene. She is a great character in this. Judas and Jesus have, and this comes especially for the end of the book. Jesus asked Judas to betray him. Because the betrayal and the crucifixion and the resurrection are necessary for the redemption of humanity. And he asked Judas why. Judas is a killer. Judas is a zealot. Judas is a hard man. Judas, all the other men, what are they? They are fishermen. They are shepherds. They are tax collectors. They are men who are not violent men. They might be hard-working men, but they are not violent men. Judas is a violent man. Judas is a man who is capable of violence. But Judas has now been so long with Jesus, formed a relationship with Jesus, has seen what Jesus is trying to achieve and believes in Jesus. And It is hard for him to be the betrayer. Here we have a Judas who is not evil, who is doing a necessary evil for the greater good. Is Judas bad for doing that? Judas is doing something he was asked, even though what he knows, it means the death of his friend on the face that he will be resurrected. He is being asked to kill a man he loves. This is not the Judas of the greed that you see in the Gospel. So yes, that is certainly a heresy. And then comes the temptation, the final temptation. Parce que the devil in the desert, after the baptism with John the Baptist, he say, I will come again. And on the cross, he come again and tempt Jesus, come down from the cross. It was a dream. I am your guardian angel. I am here to give you the life of a man. I am here to give you the woman you have wanted your whole life. I am here to give you Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is then murdered by Saul. And Jesus goes to his friends, again told by the devil, told by this angel, go and seek out Mary and Martha, Mary, sister of Lazarus. And he goes there and he marries Mary and Martha. They form a throuple and they have children. And the little this angel is very pleased. It's like, I have this great, I've shown you these great things. You get to live this man's life. And then he meets Saul, who is now Paul and is preaching. And he fights with Saul. He says, this is not what happened. I was not crucified. I did not die. I was not resurrected. And Paul says, I don't care. I would kill you to stop you from ruining what I am doing. I am giving these people hope. These people need a resurrected Christ. These people need this. They need a God that they can believe in. They need this God. They don't need you. They don't need you who roamed out and lived a normal life. And Jesus is shocked by this. Later, again, the little angel attempt to bar the door from these men too. The apostles come, and the apostles are old men, and they feel they have wasted their lives. They believed this, and what has happened? They are persecuted for what? For nothing. For something that didn't happen. They feel betrayed. But nobody feel more betrayed than Judas. Judas is traitor. You were meant to die. I did my thing. I did my part. I did that. And you were meant to die and come back. You cannot die here as a man. You have to go back. You have to go back and die as God. And Judas is the one who breaks Satan's spell. Because Judas is the one who says, no, that is not an angel. And Jesus begs, I want to go back. I want to go back. I want to be crucified. And he wake up again on the cross. And he die. Kazantzakis is not interested in telling the story after that. It stops there, because that is the point where the good man chose to become the Messiah, to become God, to give up the selfishness, the self-centeredness of humanity, and to do this thing to become God. Because without the choice, even with doubts, even with temptations, to choose to be good is hard. Being good is not just something that is in you that means you never do bad things, never think bad things. Being good is making a hard choice every single day. That is what Kazantzakis is saying. He's saying being good is making a choice every single day to do the right thing, to live authentically and with integrity. Judas berates Jesus. How can you live? How can you do this? How can you live like this? How can you know that you betrayed everyone? It is so powerful. It is absolutely fascinating. The other character, also tiny, that is quite interesting, is Pontius Pilate. Now Pontius Pilate in the Gospels has been definitely constructed to make the Romans appear a lot less colonial power and oppressive force, so that the power in Rome will adopt the church into itself and yada yada yada, power and things. Mais Pontius Pilate is the incredibly rational, the superior. He certainly sees himself as superior to everything in Judea, and especially to the people, the Jews. He is like, I am a Roman. He is the calm, polite. He does not need to lose his temper. He has no need to fear anything here. Mais he is the man with the sword. He is the sword. He is power. And he is able to he talked to Jesus, and he actually the Pilate comes earlier in the narratives and in the gospel. He actually asked to see Jesus, and he warned him that you are annoying the authorities, and you know what we do with people like that. So it is a wonderful depiction of the. Well, I've said my piece. I'm washing my hands of you. I am not interested in you and this. This is, if you will not listen to us, I have more important things to do, like not have the powder keg of this place go off. Which we know it will, because during the temptation we see the sack of Jerusalem, which occurred. Josephus talks about that. It occurred later, which would have been within the life of Jesus had he lived this long life of an ordinary man. He would have seen the sack of Jerusalem. So it is a fascinating book on faith, on how difficult it is to be good, how being good is a choice, and how sometimes things that we do not always see as being good are good, and sometimes the things that we see as good might be the greatest temptation of all. So, that is the last temptation of Christ. I won't be bringing anything nearly this controversial ever again. I do highly recommend you read it. It is a masterpiece. Very fascinating writer. It is a good translation, and it is not dull. It is not dull. These are very dynamic characters. So I hope that you enjoy this, and I will see you again another time. Au revoir. If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.